Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amber Westbrook and today we're doing a fashion sewing tutorial. I've been sewing and doing fashion design since I was like 12 years old. I actually borrowed my mom's really old sewing machine, and because I didn't have a table, I used to sew sitting on the floor. So I'd get all crunched up and I'd sew like this with my knee all like up, and I'd like push the presser foot down. It was not the most pretty sight, but I'm telling you, I learned how to sew that way. So I'm really happy to be showing you guys basically how I taught myself how to sew. There's nothing better in this world than someone walking up to you and saying, I love what you're wearing, where did you get that? And just like with a straight face, you just say, I made it myself. What I'm going to be using for this video is what's called a bodice sloper, and I'm only using the top half. So if you want to see a video on how to custom make this bodice sloper for yourself, please click the thumbs up and also leave me a comment and let me know. But for now, I'm going to use the sloper that fits me perfectly that I designed for myself the other day, and we're going to get into this tutorial. Let's go!
I always like to start my fashion designs out with a sketch, and my favorite program to use is actually an app called Procreate, and I use it on my iPad. I'm using my own custom sloper to create this bodice piece, but if you don't have one, you can always go online and download them. There's lots of websites that offer PDF patterns. I'm making my top out of green linen and a white lining. I've already cut out my front piece, and I'm going to use tracing paper and a tracing wheel to mark this dart on here so that I can get it exactly right, because I don't want my darts to be off in any way because it'll just mess up the whole pattern. I like to mark the darts first on the front and then flip the whole thing over and do it on the back with the same pattern piece. This is the line that my transfer paper made so I can see exactly where my darts go. Then I'm going to cut out 2 pieces in the green linen of the back of my pattern as well. Then I'm going to take my lining fabric and cut out all the same pieces and mark all the same darts. You should have 2 back pieces, 1 front piece, 2 lining pieces for the back, and 1 lining piece for the front. Then on to the sewing machine! I'm going to start with my back pieces, and I'm going to fold where I cut my dart, and I'm going to sew starting from the bottom and work my way up to the top of the dart. Once I get to the end of my dart, instead of backstitching, I'm going to sew right off the edge of the fabric, pull out some thread, and I'm going to tie a knot in the end. This makes a much smoother dart, and it makes it just seem much more professional. I'm making sure to sew everything right sides together, and because lining fabric is hard to see, I compare both back pieces to make sure I have a left and a right side. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my front pattern piece, except for I'm going to make sure that my line is sewn perfectly on both sides along that dotted line that I drew with my tracing wheel. Now that I have my front and back pieces all sewn, I'm going to sew my front to my back at the shoulder seams and both side seams. Then I'm going to switch out my thread to a green color so that when I sew the front of my bodice, it's not going to look all funky with the white thread poking through. Next, I'm going to be doing what's called a stay stitch, which is just a super wide stitch like a number 5 on your stitch length. Sewing this stitch around your neckline and each armhole is going to prevent stretching when you sew your fabric to your lining. I should have also done this to my lining before I switched out my thread, but I forgot. So I'll just have to switch out my thread again. Once I've done that, I'm ready to sew all the darts on my linen fabric the same way that I sewed the lining darts. I'm also going to sew the front to the back at the shoulders and the side seams just like I did with the lining fabric. Then I'm going to press all the seams open and all of the darts towards the side seam. Next, I'm going to sew my front piece to my lining piece, matching the right sides together, and I'm going to sew along the neckline. I'm making sure that I catch all of the stay stitching to the right of the needle so that none of it shows on the front of the fabric when the shirt is done. I'm cutting notches all along this neck curve, making sure that I don't hit any of my stitches. Then I'm going to flip the whole thing inside out and press it down really well. Make sure that you're ironing throughout your entire project because this can be the difference between something that looks really professional and something that looks homemade. Now, the armholes look a little bit tricky, but they're actually really easy. What you're going to want to do is slip your hand through the back between the lining and the fabric, meet up the armholes, and then kind of pull that through the opening. Flip the fabric to the right side so that the right sides are facing each other and all the clean edges are on the outside. And then you're going to want to sew all the way around this whole loop. Next, I'll clip this seam the same way I clip the neckline, making sure I don't hit any of my stitches. Then I flip it back inside out and it's like magic every time. There's no stitching to be seen. I'm going to press this and then I'm going to do the other sleeve. I'm also gonna try it on and see if it fits. It looks like it does. Oh, I'm so excited. At this point, it was turning out so good. I was so happy. For the bottom piece, I'm going to take the front and the lining and I'm going to kind of wrap them around the top so that they meet each other right sides together, with everything kind of being sandwiched inside like a giant sushi roll. Then I'm going to sew this bottom seam, making sure that I match up all of my darts and side seams, pressing the darts towards the side seams and the side seams open. Now I'm going to take my little sushi roll that I made and I'm going to flip the whole thing inside out. I'm going to smooth it all out and then I'm going to press all the edges down really, really well.
So, like the super smart person that I am, I forgot that I need a separating zipper for this. So I'm at Joann's, and there's a lot to choose from.
This is the zipper that I'm going to need. It's actually a 16-inch separating zipper, which is the exact size of the back of my fabric, so I got super lucky with this. I'm just going to take the edges of the back of my fabric and I'm going to fold them to the inside and I'm going to press all along this whole back seam so that all the clean edges are on the inside and it's nice and pressed. I always like to test out my zippers before I sew them in because you never know when you're going to get a faulty zipper. So I zip it up a few times and now it's time to align it to the back of my fabric. Starting with the bottom, I'm going to carefully place a zipper in between the fabric and the lining all along the back seam that I just pressed, and I'm going to pin it all in place. I'm going to tuck the top of the zipper inside so all the edges are nice and clean and neat. I'm also switching out my bobbin thread to this white so that I have green on the top and white on the bottom, just like my fabric and my lining. This is the zipper foot that I'm going to be using. I'm just going to swap out my regular presser foot for this one and I'm going to sew my zipper down. I'm going to make sure that I sew really, really close to my zipper teeth all along this edge here so that it comes out looking really straight and clean. Now I'm going to switch my zipper foot over and do the same exact thing for the other half of my zipper. Then I'm going to test and make sure that my zipper zips all the way up, and there you have it. That is the last step!
So that is it. That is all you need to do to make this simple crop top. And now, the final reveal. So you guys are what I like to call my fabulous fashionistas because I believe that each one of you is fabulous and I know that you can do what I can do. When I was first in college, I didn't have any money. I was still fashionable. I still looked cute every single day and I did it for so cheap. And now I just continued it and I'm seriously like the benefits never stop giving. I'm gonna make a whole video on why sewing is important and why you should buy a sewing machine, but for now, I just wanna say that you can learn to love sewing and fashion as much as I do, because then we would all be so beautiful, all of us together in our handmade clothes, and it's gonna be the most epic experience of any of our lives. If you enjoyed this tutorial and you wanna see more like it, please click the thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, click the little bell icon so you never miss an upload from me. I upload every Monday and Thursday, so if you're looking for more fashion advice, tutorials, sewing walkthroughs, just know that I am here for you. And with that, my fabulous fashionistas, never ever take that smile off your face and stay beautiful forever, just like you always have been.